Happy New Year. Welcome to SECT, where I spill all the tea that comes with this crazy college sports conference that we love oh so much. Speaking of love, we love our new friends over at Underdog Fantasy, so make sure you download the app today and use the promo code SECU to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That is an incredible deal there, y'all. Wow, what a year we have had. 2025 is in the books. If you're watching, happy 2026. I'm recording this in 2025. So I'm kind of dressed like a time traveler, space traveler. I don't know if you millennials know the show Xenon Girl, the 21st Century, but that's kind of what I feel like a little space cowgirl. Anyways, 2025, like I said, incredible year in this conference, full year with Texas and Oklahoma in it. And so I'm going to go over my top 10 moments in SEC sports this past year. And I tried to show a little bit of love amongst various sports. So whether you disagree or disagree, let me know in the comments. But first off, we're going to start off with number 10, the House settlement. Kind of boring, but it was a big deal because it completely changed college sports. Schools can pay athletes directly, and that ends amateurism and really just widens the gap amongst the SEC and Big Ten and the other conferences. So I'm very curious to see how this moves going forward, because it seems like things are changing every single day and new stories popping up, like NBA players going to college basketball, which is absolutely nuts. To quote the great John Calipari, let the rules be the rules. Okay. Now, one special moment I have there is, there we go. See, I'm also not the greatest producer, so bear with me here, but we got our picture here. Oklahoma Gymnastics, number 9. They've won their national title this past year. It's their 7th national championship. That is absolutely incredible. But what is so different about this Oklahoma team in 2025 and the years past is this was their first year in the SEC. And traveling amongst the SEC and going against the best competition, not an easy thing to do, especially when you are playing in those, or rather competing in those tough environments. Because I don't know if y'all have ever been to an SEC gymnastics meet, but if you haven't, I highly, highly suggest you go, because they get so loud in there. And you don't really hear booing like you do in other sports, but you can definitely hear people cheering for the home team, obviously a lot louder. And when you are competing on the other events and someone is cheering loud for someone on the other team, it can get a bit distracting. So props to Oklahoma for posting up those high scores throughout the season. And like I said, if you have never been to a college gymnastics meet, I highly, highly suggest you go, because these women are so incredible. They have international experience. Like we saw Suni Lee a few years ago, competed at Auburn, and then was in the Olympics before and after her tenure at Auburn. So incredible athletes there. And also the meets are under 2 hours, which is really fun. So you can go in and out, bring your daughters, bring your sons, bring your friends. They're so great. Now, I know not every SEC team has a gymnastics squad, but the ones that do, go out and support, because those meets are so much fun. And then number 8, we have Georgia track and field winning their first ever national championship. This is their women's team, 73 points to win their first outdoor national title, which is huge because Georgia is great overall athletics, but they know they're mostly a football school. So to see them have this success in track and field, head coach Carol Smith-Gilbert, love to see a women coach dominating in a female sport. Just really awesome things going there for Georgia for sure. And they also set a school record, which was just incredible to do. Then we have another just powerhouse squad here. LSU baseball winning their national title in Omaha. Tiger baseball, Tiger fans showed up for that one. They always win the Jello Shot Challenge. That's no question. Undefeated in Omaha, their 8th national title, but their 2nd in 3 years. And this was just so incredible because 2024 was a bit of a rebuilding year for them, but Jay Johnson got it going there down in Baton Rouge. He only has been there for a few years. So I'm really excited to see what he does with Tiger baseball in the near future. And what's so crazy about this is that he's really figured out how to manage this NIL transfer portal era. You know, he got Paul Skeens from Air Force a few years ago when they won that title. And it's been so incredible to see LSU baseball continuing to dominate. And they're a scary team. I'm scared of my teams ever playing LSU. So props to the Tigers for winning another natty. Then we have another first-time national champion. Texas A&M volleyball wins their first national championship in program history. In 3 sets, they beat Kentucky, which shout out to Kentucky for winning, or for rather making it to the national championship. We had an all-SEC championship game. Love that for the natty. Just shows that the SEC, which just means more in all of the sports. And Logan Lednicki led the team there, and her story is pretty incredible because she grew up a Texas A&M Aggie fan. There's a video of her on her Instagram doing some cartwheels. I believe her dad played at Texas A&M years ago, and she was doing cartwheels on the football field and then did a little gig 'em Aggies when she was a little girl, and then she reposted that pretty recently. So that was an awesome story to see. And then the comeback story of Kendall Stowers. She transferred in from Baylor, but she was actually medically retired because she had so many concussions. And a lot of people don't understand that volleyball is a very physical sport because you're not wearing pads. And these girls are going at it. They're diving on the ground. They're aggressive. And you're so focused on your game that it's hard to kind of be aware of your surroundings. And she had quite a few concussions, but she was eventually cleared and entered the transfer portal and found her way at Texas A&M, and it was really incredible to see the Aggies win that national title for the first time ever. You love to see it. It's just so incredible to see. And then we have another Texas team, but Texas A&M Longhorns softball. They have been trying for so long, and they finally get it done. Texas, the Longhorns, win their first ever Women's College World Series title. Grand Slam, just what a way to win a national title by Mia Scott. In Texas's first year in the SEC, like I said, Texas A&M and Oklahoma in their first year in the conference have been absolutely incredible. They defeat Texas Tech at that. In game 3, Texas Tech, in-state rival, former Big 12 rival, former Southwest Conference rival, to win it 10-4. Just great year for Longhorn softball. So much fun. Then number 4, of course, we got some football here. Alabama coming back to beat Oklahoma in Norman for the first round of the college football playoff. Alabama wins this 34-24. Bama scores 27 straight points. They overcame a 17-0 deficit in Norman, which is just more proof that the home playoff games need to stay. And there's no talk of them changing it, but with this sport, you just never know what's going to happen. And I'm like, please keep the home playoff games because that was an incredible environment in Norman. Night game, they had 50 Cent coming out singing Many Men, which I think Alabama, honestly, I feel like that song honestly applied more to Alabama because many men wished death upon me. And, people never want Alabama to do well. People thought they were dead when Georgia beat the crap out of them in the SEC championship. And Bama comes and says, many men wish death upon me. But hey, we're still here. We're still Alabama, and we are still alive. So props to the Crimson Tide. And speaking of another home playoff game, Ole Miss hosting their first ever college football playoff game. Not only that, making it to their first ever college football playoff game. It was actually my first time going to the Grove and going inside the stadium at Ole Miss, and it was incredible time there. They beat Tulane in a convincing fashion, but it was just so incredible to see Ole Miss fans just soak that in. So many of them kind of stayed after the game and just watched it all, and it was really sweet to see Pete Golding, Pete, hearing all the fans chant his name. And there aren't many other fan bases that deserve this like Ole Miss does because of what they've gone through. They haven't traditionally been a successful program. And then, of course, Lane Kiffin comes in and takes them to that place that they want to go. And then he's like, actually, peace out. I'm going to LSU. And then it was so funny to see just the Ole Miss fans, stand up for their team. There was so many funny signs like, ho, ho, ho. Or I got one of my good friends who is an Ole Miss alum, little button that said, let that ho go. or ho, ho, ho. Pretty funny. So it was great to see that. And, you know, it's funny. I was in the line in the bathroom to go to the bathroom at the stadium. And there was these Ole Miss moms behind me in line. And they were like quoting Taylor Swift, like, who covered up your scandals? I protect the family. It's a Taylor Swift song called Father Figure. But basically, it was about Lane Kiffin, we think. So I think a lot of Taylor Swift songs can apply to Lane Kiffin. Then, I know, number 2, might be a little biased here, but Florida winning the national championship. I know it's covering this, but that's a Gator hat. The Gators rallying from a 12-point deficit to beat Houston 65-63 for their 3rd national title. And just so early in the Todd Golden era as well. And for them to do this was just absolutely incredible. This is just one of my favorite pictures. Walter Clayton, Hank Mockton, Will Richard. Just, I miss them so much. I miss Walter Clayton. I miss Will Richard. But this was so incredible. It was just like, yeah, Florida had a crappy football season. But after Florida won that basketball national title, I felt like we took a time machine back to the 2007 era with Joakim Noah and Al Horford, Corey Brewer, Torian Green, who's actually on the staff. It just felt like, wow, the Gators were not only back in that time period, because around that time period was the Tebow era. So it felt like Florida was finally back in the athletic spot that they were supposed to be. And we had this team gave us a lot of false hope for the football team. I know they have nothing to do with each other, but it's like, wow, look how great the basketball team is. Like, football, look at it for inspiration. And we had everyone knew that Florida had all the hype heading into the season. And I think basketball did help with that. And clearly, it did not really go that well for the Gators. But hey, you never know what can happen. I think the Gators will be back in March Madness again this year. And then what's our number 1? What do you guys think our number 1 is going to be? Because there's a certain topic that I have not talked about yet. Of course, just the Lane Kiffin saga is just the craziest thing in not only SEC sports, but college sports of 2025. Lane Kiffin, the entire saga was the craziest moment in sports, I think. At least in SEC sports, college sports for sure, of 2025. Because you have a coach that's been at Ole Miss for a few years now, and this year was not supposed to be a great year for them. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year. But their star quarterback, a Division II player who was the backup because Austin Simmons got hurt, so Trinidad Chambliss, backup quarterback who transferred from Division II Ferris State, comes to Ole Miss, becomes a starter. The Rebels shock everyone and obviously clinch a spot in the college football playoff. And when it was the Egg Bowl, when they played Mississippi State, no one was talking about how Ole Miss was going to go to their first ever college football playoff. Everyone was talking about what Lane Kiffin was going to do. And that's what all the chatter was. Poor Marty Smith from SEC Network was camped out for like 30 minutes. Like 3 years outside the Ole Miss facility, inside the Ole Miss facility, trying to understand what was going on there. Excuse me. I'm coming over a cold. But anyways, it was not only that, but also just like, where was Lane Kiffin going to go? Because I remember when Florida played Ole Miss this season, there were so many Gator fans there because they literally thought that Lane Kiffin was like going to come back on the plane with them to Gainesville. There were so many Gator fans taunting the Ole Miss fans. Some of them were being a bit ridiculous. I apologize to Hottie Toddy out there because some Gator fans were being very crazy. But hey, that's what we are. We're a crazy fan base. But anyways, they thought that they were going to snatch up Lane Kiffin and take him back to Gainesville. Clearly, I made this comparison several times. You can look it up. He's like an indecisive boyfriend or guy you're dating. And he doesn't know what he wants his cake and to eat it too. He wants to coach in the playoffs, which Keith Carter, the Ole Miss athletic director, said, no, bro, you can't coach in the playoffs and then be at LSU as a head coach. You can't do that. But then there was rumors of, before that, there was rumors of him going to Florida, I think even Tennessee. Fans, some of them, not a lot, but it was mostly Florida and Ole Miss that in LSU. And then once Florida started to back off, then it was like, oh crap, he's really going to LSU, because I saw the crash out from Gator fans when Scott Strickland dropped the ball, and it's like, no, we're going to go with John Summerall. But then, John Summerall really won the press conference, and I think Gator fans are pretty content with him as a coach, but we'll see how everything goes. Yeah, just the hoopla. And then not only that, it was just Lane retweeting stuff, staying on his phone. You know how he's chronically online. And again, I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. So by the time this comes out, the Sugar Bowl will be played. But there are talks of him attending the Sugar Bowl, where Ole Miss and Georgia will be playing, which is interesting because it's in New Orleans. Lane Kiffin's obviously in Baton Rouge now. That's going to be messy. And I feel like he will probably be there because it's Lane. He loves the spotlight. So I'm excited to see what he does at LSU. I am even more excited to see Ole Miss hosting LSU next year, because that is going to be absolutely crazy. But yeah, Lane Kiffin, the whole coaching search, the whole madness of him still being the coach at Ole Miss, but also the rumors that were swirling around, and then the thought of him going to LSU, but also coaching in the playoffs. I don't think that'll ever happen again in college football. I don't think a coaching search like this will ever happen again. If it is, it'll probably be Lane Kiffin going to some other school. So yeah, that wraps up my top 10 sporting events in the SEC season back in this 2025 year. Thank you so much, guys, for watching SECT. This is actually my first ever YouTube show, so thank you to the squad at SEC Unfiltered for letting me doing this and letting this crazy girl hop on and talk about football gossip, because it's been a great year. Cheers to that. My hogs, I know I did not forget about you. Cheers to that. You were not in my top 10 because, hey, Calipari is fun for Arkansas, but my poor hogs. Yeah. But hey, you know what you can lean on is Underdog Fantasy, and playing on Underdog is pretty easy. Just also pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. Player props are so much fun, and there's plenty to do in college football. I mean, come on, college sports, so much fun. But you must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 and up in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. The offer is not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Worried about your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to SECT. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Follow all of us on social media. And we'll see you next year. Well, it is next year because you're watching this in 2026. So this time traveler girl is out. Happy New Year.